This is the stuff dreams are made of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel, and you're listening to the original movie prop collecting podcast, brought to you by Heritage Auctions, we think, HA.com. We're still negotiating the deal, but we're pretty sure they're going to say yes, and so we're recording these things. HA.com, Heritage Auctions, sellers of basically everything on planet Earth. Currently getting ready for so many good auctions, it's insane. We're just hearing great things, and we can't wait for them to sort of give us the high sign to let you know about what's going on. But so many good things come down the pike. So Heritage Auctions, there's an auction going on right now.
Yeah, probably live bidding. Yeah, on something. Did you read that crazy story? Here we go. We're already off topic. About the person that found that like oil painting for like $50 in either a estate sale or a junk shop or whatever, and they think it's a Van Gogh.
Oh, I saw this Van Gogh thing. I gotta say, and we've had discussions of like I would gladly, surrender my entire collection for
that's not
for
the
a
one.
Van Gogh. That ain't it. Yeah,
No.
If that is a Van Gogh, I don't know. I understand historically it is humanly possible that it is. I'm not weighing in on the provenance that they are trying to figure out. But that is an ugly painting in a way that even when you look at some of his early paintings like the Potato Eaters, which has a crudeness to it, there's a talent to it that does not seem to be there in this farmer painting in some way. Yeah.
The Van Gogh thing for me, and this is a totally unstudied, I did not study art history. I did not study anything. I just look at a lot of paintings because I like them. There's something about the color. Yeah. And the interaction and the liveliness it doesn't do it.
It's like the way it's a strange combination. And by the way, this is true even in his portraits. And again, this would be, I guess, considered an early one or something. And that's what they're trying to base it on. Because I guess if it were a later one, it would be even more money. I guess $50 million in the world of Van Gogh is nothing. But yeah, it's a guy that's sort of like we see orange and he sees bursts of something, like whatever was going on in his head, which was probably not fun for him to live with, made for some spectacular paintings. And also the way he interpreted spaces, like the way he things flattened out on his board, and yet it was his version of it. Anyway, none of that is there.
Perspective without perspective, and all. Yes. But maybe this was an orange, and he just sees ugly farmers.
Right. It's a really ugly painting if it is a Van Gogh. Yeah, I don't know. Years ago, someone said to me, there's a thing you can kind of do a search, which is periodically they think they find another Caravaggio, and they have found Caravaggios. So it's not that they didn't and don't, but they're not all real, obviously. But it's an ongoing, constantly, could this be a Caravaggio? And then there's always it is, it isn't, whatever. And I guess some of that was because he went on the lam. He murdered a guy and went on the lam, and I don't know, the stuff got spread around and whatnot, and he needed money. And anyway, the main point of the story, I was talking to somebody who had a connection to the Getty Museum, and because I was asking, at the time they were displaying a couple of Caravaggios.
Speaking of stolen art.
Yeah. They were, I saw a couple of Caravaggios there that were just incredible. And I said, oh, have you read this article about whatever the Caravaggio they think? And it was so funny how dismissive he was of just like, it was sort of like, it was sort of an effortless kind of like, well, they find a painting they think is Caravaggio every day. You know what I mean? Like it was like that. And it's just like, so I don't know, I'll believe it when somebody like puts it in the Van Gogh Museum, I guess. But yeah. But good for the I guess the sellers. I don't even know. Yeah.
The
I'm not
finder,
sure who it's
right?
good for.
Well, because it sounds like actually they made a deal with the guy who found it. So there's this like art detectives bureau that actually acquired it. Yeah,
someone bought it
on
in a
spec.
But I think there's two steps. I think someone did find it in the middle of nowhere, like at a yard sale, and then those people sold it to somebody else, I think, who then got involved with the art detectives or some version of that. So who knows? But yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say I don't think so, but we'll see. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
We'll
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Our new newfound Caravaggio's the Luke's lightsaber, Graflex lightsaber of the fine art world. Dave, is
But
that
even
what
that, even that, I feel like it's. Well, I mean, I don't know. Are they? I mean, I guess what's the difference? It's or is it the Harry Potter wands? I don't know. I can't tell which. What's the right version?
At least it's hard to fake a Caravaggio, Dave.
I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. But it's sort of like I can think of more times I've read about fake. I'm sorry. I've read about more times that I've heard about a possible Caravaggio than I've heard about a possible Luke's lightsaber.
Oh, okay.
If that,
interesting.
yeah. So wherever that fits in.
Very good.
Yeah. But I do like those stories. I enjoy.
Yeah.
I will definitely read any sort of, lost treasure, lost painting kind of auction story. Yeah,
Totally.
it's a good category of I don't know, newspaper story that somehow doesn't involve politics right now that I'm leaning into. Yeah.
Like all of my favorite podcasts have just become unlistenable all of a sudden.
I can't take it, and I like politics, or used to, and certainly Lord knows people know I have opinions, but even I can't take it anymore. I can't take my own opinions anymore. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this morning. We've had this big. Here we go. We had this plane helicopter crash over Washington D.C.
Yeah,
and the fucking president of the United States is going on, instead of a statement of, I don't know,
anything useful, any
sense,
compassion,
any sense of compassion or whatnot. He went on an anti DEI rant. I mean, just basically, I guess, blaming the crash on, I don't know, minorities, women, which has, I mean, I guess that's his agenda. I guess that's the agenda of the next 4 years. It's disgusting. It's gross. He fired, he fired a bunch of people from the aviation department like last week, and yet like no sense of anything. Anyway, maybe you're still listening. Sorry. I can't do it. Let's just go back to props.
I'm sure it'll all get better from here.
Oh, yeah. By the way, just for the record, still January. January 2025. Yeah, this month, 400-year-long month. So, yeah.
I saw somebody posted it's January 56th here in England. That's a good gag. This is a particularly long month here in England.
Yeah. Well, here too. But, what's new in props, Ryan?
Well,
let's start with. I'm going to interrupt you really quickly because let that be the first interruption of the show. And the last. No, not the last. The ongoing contest. We're having a contest here on the show on the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of, which is, you told everyone during the last show that you acquired, or one of these shows, that you made a big deal, your biggest deal ever, most you've ever paid for prop, and that it's a work in progress. The deal is done, but you do not have it in hands.
Right.
And we are offering a listener who writes in and guesses the specific prop and the movie it's from. I am offering them something from my condo that I'm going to get rid of. And I realize that's very vague, but it could be very interesting. And maybe it even ties into our topic later today, but we'll get to that in a couple of moments. But we said you'd be giving clues. And so here is this week's clue as to what it could be. Go for it.
It's from the 1980s.
From the 1980s. The most Ryan has ever spent, and it's not here yet. All right, send us, email us in your guesses. You can guess, I think you can guess as many times as you like, I guess. Although each one needs to be on an individual email. It can't be like an email with like
30 guesses. Yeah, that's just lazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But send your guesses in. Win something from my condo. Could be the X-Wing, could be an old pulsar action figure
Yep.
where you can pump and you see his lungs move. Could be a lot of different things.
Could be whatever art Chuck left behind.
Could be something of Chuck's, both art but also personal documents in a suitcase, like his passport. He had a drawing he made from when he was a kid that was in there. I think he had some like school reports, so could be one of Chuck's school reports. So that's exciting.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a real grab bag. It's a Pandora's box.
Something from my apartment. It's almost as vague as something from the 80s. So there you go. Yeah. What's new in props?
Well, we are storming. I'm very tired this week. I've been talking a lot these past 2 weeks. We just finished our tone meetings.
Ooh, yep.
So it was back to back to back because we sort of had everybody in before the real crazy director, location, tech scouting all kind of happened. So we're in the thick of prep. So we start. We're a short while away from filming. I don't think they've officially announced a start date, but it's very soon.
Right. Do you guys do a first meeting and then a tone meeting, or is the tone meeting the first meeting? Do you know what I'm asking?
I did concept meetings with everybody.
You did do a concept meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was like sort of like the week before because the directors arrived. It's still January. The directors arrived in January. So we just decided to do, we had the scripts are all done. So we decided to do the tone meetings earlier than we usually do, just so that they had that information as they go into their storyboarding and sort of final location scouting. So now they're planning all their stuff out with the tone meeting in mind. And a tone meeting, for anybody that cares or doesn't know, is it's more of it's a television convention. I don't think they have them on movies because the director sort of kind of runs the show. But tone meeting is the usually writer, creator, showrunners or writer showrunners chance with the director to kind of go through the script in excruciating detail. Mine are 5 hours long, typically, scene by scene, beat by beat through the script, and describe intention and what is desired, and hit anything that might be in the scene that's not immediately apparent, like costumes or props.
It gets into every aspect of production, because it sounds like, you could go through and go, look, this is a scene where this guy's got to really feel sad, and you got to go, there's the tone. But that is just the start of it, because then it's sort of like, I want him dressed like this. I think she needs to be dressed like that. I know she may be dressed like this earlier in the show, but she's got to be dressed like this here. So maybe we have to change that. And there has to be a suitcase. The scene doesn't work if there isn't a suitcase, and blah, blah,
and it's
blah,
the
blah,
suitcase
blah.
from episode 3, and we should be remembering that. And there are soldiers in the scene. Here's how many. Here's how they're dressed. This is what houses they're from.
They just fought a war. Don't forget. So they're bloody. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Tired and So I'm very I'm very tired. I've never spoken for so. I just feel like at the end.
No, it's a lot. Yeah.
At the end of every day, I just sort of sat back in the chair and I needed somebody to just like carry me off to my office. But
especially because you did concept and tone so close to each other, which at some point. I mean, sometimes you get a longer sort of
runway, and they get to discover things
between the two.
But I actually think it was really effective, because I think there was like 2 weeks between, and I think the concept meetings is sort of like they were still jet lagged. They were like stepping off the plane, like, here you go, boom, there's your script, concept meeting, so I think we'll see, but we actually have a lot of returning directors this year, so there's a shorthand now, and it's nice. I mean, if you're lucky enough to get to a season 3, they tend to be, as I think we've talked about in the podcast before, they tend to be better experiences overall, because the gears are all kind of going in the same direction in a lot of ways. So this has been it's been a lot of work, but it's been pretty fun and enjoyable thus far, as making a season of this crazy show goes. But I was speaking of tone and calling out props and scenes. I was actually walking around my props department today, and with my fine props people, Ellie Murphy and Lee Wiseman. Lee, our props master, and Ellie, who is, I think she actually has a new title, but she was formerly our action props lady. She came on and talked about Farmer Mike, the farmer, with that she had. Remember? So they were just showing me all.
What is her new title? Is she?
She told me she was bumped. Yeah, but I don't.
Nice.
It's. I forget what it is. It might be assistant prop master, but I'll find
cool.
out.
Well,
We'll
good
update
for her. Congratulations.
We'll update the show, but very well deserved. Lee and Ellie are a great duo. Really enjoy working with them, and they're showing me very exciting stuff. We have some really kind of specific things that we need to build, and one of them is a very like in-world thing that we've heard a lot about over the course of like the writing of the books and like from the text of the books, but we haven't really ever, in my mind, I don't know what we've seen on
interesting.
on screen in a specific way. It's a smaller, it's not a big thing. It's a smaller detail, but I just thought it was cool to like, it was one of those things where you kind of have to, you go and read everything, all the little snippets that are in the book, and then you try to put the thing together, figure out, take all the information you have and then sort of connect the dots as best you can and then fill in the rest. And much like doing an adaptation. So excited to just see that come along. It's a fun one. So,
would you say, as you were looking at the new season 3 props,
yeah,
could you see something that you definitively were like, well, I got to have that?
Oh, for sure, yeah. This thing,
okay,
the thing that I'm just
this
talking
thing.
about. Oh, yeah. It's
yeah,
good.
Okay,
it's
cool.
good. Yeah. No, there are a couple.
So
there are a couple
something
things.
oft mentioned. This is our next contest. What did Ryan? No, enough contests. That's very cool though. That's exciting that it's getting. Well, what can you say? It's getting that real. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Obviously,
yeah, we're T minus here.
Not that it wasn't real. Obviously,
Yeah.
you were making a 3rd season, but just that like it is like props are getting built. That's
and they're insane sets being made and costumes sewed, and it's like every department. I stopped through Tim Lewis in the weapons department today, and I was delighted.
Nice.
There's some very exciting stuff coming along there. Our swordsmith Jamie, the actual blacksmith that we have that works on the show that does a lot of our steel work, was hammering away today. He was doing some experimentation work with some things. So they were showing me all little things, and it's fun. It's fun.
That's excellent. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a what's new in props before we get into our prop topic of the evening?
A couple of bits and pieces. I mean, I'm definitely, in the ongoing saga of, the now put out fires, thank gosh, and trying to both catalog and get everything the proper insurance and all of that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, this is neither here nor there, but one of our longtime listeners, M3, that's how he identifies himself, who had written into us a bunch of times, longtime prop collector, a collector of many other things from what I can gather without getting too specific. And I think we both got a chance to meet him and his son at one of the roof events at the Peterson for the prop store preview. Yes, prop store preview brought to you by Heritage. And anyway, he was kind enough to sort of send in an email about what he uses to categorize, how he basically, for lack of a better word, makes his spreadsheets. And obviously he uses a spreadsheet program, but he uses a couple of other bits and pieces as well. And one of the things, by the way,
intimidated and exhausted by the description.
I was too, but I actually saved the email as a PDF and I started checking things out. And one of the things that was really fantastic, which I think maybe they'd be happy to let you know, assuming that they are our sponsor, is you can go into your Heritage account and click on My Collection, and basically you can see everything you've ever won at Heritage in your account. It's one of the other tabs. And it actually goes back, I think, somewhat into even the profiles and history
Does yours just come up as 3 skulls with the X's for eyes, Dave?
Cherry. No. So you can, it's by category, and some of the categories are a little strange because there is some weird overlap where there is pieces in the comic art world that are kind of movie art. But anyway, which is not the point. So they come up in categories. But you can see basically everything you ever did, and you can export that into a file, which is very helpful. And you can also add stuff. So you can actually, which is very smart of them, you can add stuff to your My Collection, which is basically telling Heritage the stuff you have that you've gotten elsewhere that they can then, I guess, come after you and go, hey, you've got this thing, you want to sell it. But that was a very interesting learning lesson. So and actually quite helpful and definitely sort of helped me kind of jumpstart things a bit. Just the ability to just go, oh, here's everything I bought at Heritage and Profiles. And then he mentioned this program called Collectify, which looked really interesting and looked really
I was into that too.
great. Yeah, it was really exciting. And I started doing some digging. And the problem is it's basically a piece of software only for PCs. So we're back to that world of it doesn't work on Macs. So the only way to get it to work on a Mac would be to get into that
emulator world.
Yes, of Parallels, where Parallels lets you put like a PC in your Mac, and then you've got to download like a Windows operating system and put it on your. I don't know. I think I'm too frightened to do that. I was thinking about maybe what if I got like another laptop and tried it. I don't know. I think I'm too scared is the honest answer to do it like that. I even thought about buying like a PC laptop, like and just like try running it
having
on
it on
that.
the side. Yeah.
But I just think it's going to make me insane. Like it's just too much work. They have an online version of it, like in the cloud that you can do that doesn't require that you could use on a Mac. But of course, I wrote to the company, they will give you a free preview on your computer, but there's no free preview of the cloud. So I'm just sort of like, oh God, banging my head against the wall. But long story short, to kind of get through some of this to an actual prop issue, although maybe people will find some of that, interesting if they're going through some of what I'm going through as well. Which I guess is a long way of saying if any of our listeners want to build a really good like a Mac-based sort of collection database, that would be really interesting. I would also be very curious about if somebody has a pre-made Excel spreadsheet, because the issue that I'm having with the Excel spreadsheets is how to sort of both add the sheer number of photos you want to add but even the one photo, like, are you putting your photo into your spreadsheet or are you putting a link to I don't know, like these are some of the questions that I wrestle with.
To me like a database is more appropriate.
Maybe so, but at the same time, it does feel like you need a database that would allow you to either connect to something or have built into it, so that if you were going, and here's my bad example because I have no prop in front of me, so off of my fine desk here is like a little Japanese gorilla guy, not a radiator cap. I just want to point out, just connected to the world of like, I don't know, like a Godzilla thing or something or other. But this little monkey guy.
Is it possible that you could win that if you guessed my prop?
No, because this is at the house. That's a whole other. That's a whole other.
Untouchable.
That's a whole other contest. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've got him on my desk, and I've got Khan. I don't have.
Oh yes, that's cool.
I don't have any Pop toys except this and a couple from Veep, but I have Khan here.
That's
and a Bizarro, and I have Bizarro, but I keep Khan. I like Khan. So if this was my Khan, here, this will be better. If this were my actual Khan glove, costume, and necklace that I have in my collection, obviously I would want to have a picture of those in the spreadsheet. But then I also want to be able to not just be able to go, I bought this at Profiles in History on this date, which I did, but also I want to be able to kind of go, here's this screen match, and maybe go look at these photos, because for insurance purposes, and for the appraisal, I want to be able not just to say, hey, this is screen used, but I want to show that it's screen used, so that God forbid, if it was ever stolen or whatever, you have those photos. And I guess that's the part where I don't quite understand, like, do I need multiple programs working together? Is there a program that would just do it all for me? And I thought Collectify might, but I don't think I'm not sure it does if I can't use it on a Macintosh. Anyway, so that's all been going on. I'll put that in one category. And as it has been going on, I have made a real effort to, as I'm going through the room and stuff, I am sort of trying to grab and be a little proactive with some of the props that have needed a little bit of help. And so I shipped out the pulse rifle to Gino's friend Bob, who was with him when we did the big project, and he was my pulse rifle was missing the bottom, the magazine sort of. cap. I don't know quite
Yeah.
what to call it.
The butt cap.
The butt cap. Yes, it was missing that. It did not have an actual magazine in it. And then it was missing that front piece, if you can remember from our Alien show that somebody stole, I think, from Jim Latta, the barrel block from Jim Latta, yes.
Yeah.
Which I had a replacement one, a replica one, done in, but the wrong color and whatever. Anyway, he's putting this all together in a very reversible, non-invasive way, but it's going to kind of, work as a single piece, and then I'm going to have a display made for that. I also have identified my neuralizer, which needs a little help getting the electronics working again.
Great.
And I have an R2 piece, not the clear one, another one that, if you can remember, is yellow because it was used in the Phantom Menace, but it's clearly from Jedi. It's clearly an old R2 that they've repainted yellow. And so now the question with that is to get it to a paint guy, which I'm now in the process of doing, to see, because I can see a little bit of blue, and the question is there blue underneath? Did they sand it off and it's gone? And then I guess the question will be, and maybe this will be for another episode to further discuss, because it is truly 99.9% sure that it's an R2 from Jedi, and I believe I know which one it is. If there is no blue paint under the yellow, if it is truly like they sanded it, primed it, and then repainted it yellow for Phantom Menace, would you do a repaint? Would you put it back to its original color? Assuming by a not me doing it, not me with a roller, but a professional prop painter. I think actually the same guy that worked on your Batwing back in the day.
Oh my God.
So somebody truly
very talented man.
Professional, and maybe get one of those droid guys involved or whatnot. But I guess the question would be, would you try and restore it back, even though obviously the color you'd know the color was always later. Anyway, so these are some of the just to sum it up, I'm trying to attack a lot of different things and just try and get off my ass with a couple of these different things while I am figuring out the insurance stuff. So anyway, I don't know, do you have I know, we've done restoration as a topic, but this one is new to me because I normally don't do things like that, but it's such a different, beast, but again, it's a little like the pulse rifle. The pulse rifle's black because it's from,
Alien 3.
It was used in Alien 3, and I've never thought about repainting it. So should I not repaint this? Anyway, that's where my head is.
I mean, definitely not the pulse rifle because they didn't make.
I'm not touching the pulse rifle. Don't worry about that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
vacuum form.
That wasn't
shroud,
wasn't the right example. But you know what I mean. Yeah. It was reused, but I've never tried to put it back in any weird way, shape, or form. Yeah.
I mean, my very quick answer, because we actually have a topic tonight.
Do we?
Is for sure if there's blue paint under there, I would strip off what's there and get to your Jedi R2, which is totally possible. We've
agree
seen
with
that magic work.
But I believe, unfortunately, I'm guessing it's going to be crumbs of blue is my thing, unfortunately. That's my unfortunate guess, But maybe enough to match it. I don't know. Maybe enough to paint match.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a slippery slope. And I think
I am not unaware of that,
I think taking something that's original. Look, if it was used in a non-Star Wars movie, right? If it was like Nightbreed, the flamethrower that I had from Nightbreed that was painted for Nightbreed, I had no problem restoring that back to its Alien's glory because Nightbreed is a lesser film. It's Nightbreed, but I don't know. It's like I just feel like you strip something away that wasn't there, and then you make it. It's not like it was R2 from the prequel. It's an R2 unit, but it's not R2D2. I would struggle with that. I think you'd be hurting the value of the piece.
Let me go one step further, just because this is fascinating to me. We may have lost our viewers like an hour ago, but it also has R2D2 holes that have been plugged up. It's different. So you could pop the. I mean, this is part of the problem is you could get it back more R2y, and then the question would be, if you unplug those holes, would you just unplug them so it looks the way it's supposed to look or used to look, but it's still yellow, or you wouldn't unplug them? You see what you know where I'm going? Anyway. So,
yeah, I mean,
anyway.
I think if you can get to the R2 beneath, you go for it and you unplug the holes. And otherwise, I think you just
to be figured out, but certainly getting it out to go to the painters. So that's the starting point. Not that he's going to paint it, but he's going to see if there's something under there. He's going to assess. So I'm going assess. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I was going to say really what you should do is just build a complete R2 unit around it and then sell it at auction for 7 figures. I think that's what you should do. That's really the ultimate goal.
That's coming up soon. Yeah. The real biggest problem with it, because it is so yellow for Phantom Menace, is it looks like shit in front of the yellow wall. You just lose it. You fucking lose it completely. And if it were blue, I'm just saying it would pop in my giant yellow wall. Yeah. Anyway, it's just something to think about. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we do have a topic tonight. We were sort of joking the other night about like kind of small things and small topics, and maybe we were talking about
small topics on little plates. That's what we were talking about. Little plates. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about, do we do mailbag and so we had these like little topics that we sort of collected into this thing. So the joke was we're doing a tapas episode, so we're calling it Propas.
Welcome to Propas. Yes.
Tiny little sharing plates.
Yeah, little Propas T-shirts coming soon, because I think we've coined a word, Propas.
Yeah.
But where we were starting to think about, and a little of this came off of talking from our last episode with one of our new prop collectors. Larry, was that his name? Or am I losing? Yeah, look at me remembering something. And obviously, from talking with him, he definitely had bought some pieces that were bigger. But I think it's been a long while since we've addressed sort of like the lower end part of the market and what's out there. And that seemed like a wonderful way of maybe jumping into Propas. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about was call sheets, which have come up from time to time. We've certainly talked about buying them. We've talked about selling them. I'm going through right now, again, as part of everything is, I have a lot of them. And by the way, if you think it's possible that a call sheet might be the prize for the Ryan contest, you might be right, because I got a lot of call sheets.
That's very good.
But they are a wonderful.
Can you just because we're going to talk about it, can you just explain what a call sheet is?
Yeah, very much so. And by the way, I think less and less do they exist on paper anymore, sadly. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But certainly from the earliest days of production, the call sheet was something that was issued usually the night before production, the day before production, that basically sums up the next day's shoot. And what it would involve was a list of what cast was needed, because sometimes you don't need all of the cast. So what cast was needed and what time they had to be there. And as they progressed, this person needs to be in the makeup chair at 5 a.m. to be on set at 9 a.m. But this person can get on the makeup chair at 8:30 for 9 a.m. So, really, it was really the AD really, and the production team really putting all the information in there so that the actors knew when they needed to be on set. Props knew what props were working, special effects knew, basically all the departments kind of calling out all of the day's special things, and then the goal for the day also. These are the 3 scenes that are going to be shot. This is the order that they're going to be shot in. Here's a shot, here's a scene. If we have a great day, we're going to try and do this also. If it rains, this is what we're going to go do. And
weather cover.
Yep. If you are in any of these departments, we might do scene 47. I need to get that baseball bat for it or whatever it is. And oh my God, if that's the rain cover, well then I need this stuff that I didn't think I needed. And so it's really just an incredible announcement for the entire crew, including by the way, myself when I'm directing, myself when I'm the writer, when I'm show running, whatever your role is, it is a chance to kind of like take that home with you and take a minute and think to yourself, this is my day tomorrow. What am I forgetting? What do I need to do? I'm going to reread these scenes, whatever it is. Let me check my shot list, whatever it is. But really like a chance to kind of look at the day. And certainly like on Veep back in the day, one of the ways we used it was as soon as we knew the next day's official here's what we're doing, we were able to kind of go with Julia to kind of go, let's look at these scenes. I think these scenes could use a couple more jokes. And so just for the writers, it was like, here's the call sheet, look at these scenes, send in anything you've got for joke wise. So, they work in a variety of ways. Nowadays, they exist, sadly, I think mostly just computer. You get them emailed
PDF,
to you, which is not as enjoyable from certainly a collectability standpoint. And also just, I don't know, I don't like them as much. I like reading, I will print them out for myself if humanly possible. But not always, because they print long and you don't have long paper and blah, 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 blah. So, by the way, they would often have maps to locations and things if you're driving yourself or pick up places and whatnot. And they really do capture, in an incredible way from a collectability standpoint, I think they capture moments in time where you get to see days of the shoot, and you can maybe see like, oh wow, for example, this is Jedi, and here's a map to get from the hotel to the redwood forest. And you can often see sometimes these people were working, but these people are on the call sheet, they're not working, but they were told to go rehearse lightsaber fighting. I'm picking Star Wars as an example. And so one of the things that I think is incredible about call sheets is obviously oftentimes it's a representation of a movie that is hard to find a representation of. So I have a Chinatown call sheet. I have a Some Like It Hot call sheet that Glenn Carroll was nice enough to, I think, hook me up with a million years ago. So I have Godfather and Godfather 2 call sheets, because those are hard movies to find things from. And there are movies that
those are hard movies to find call sheets from.
Yes, that too. But I was just going to say, I have some call sheets. I have a Pulp Fiction call sheet. I don't really have any Tarantino stuff in my collection, but I have a Pulp Fiction call sheet. And so it's a really wonderful way to, especially, if you are, I think I come to these things both as not only a collector, but also a hardcore movie fan. And so it fills both sort of buckets for me. And I guess I love call sheets that way. And I think they're wonderful on their own. They're very incredible if you actually have a prop in your collection and you can find a call sheet of the day, perhaps that your prop was working. That's a really fun combo thing, and it works both ways. So you don't
people have used them to authenticate to prove that a stunt version did exist, or there was a special effects version. People who do film books, we talked to Lee Unkrich, who wrote the wonderful Tosh and Shining book. And so much of his research was actually going back and reading all the original call sheets, because that's how you actually put together the production plan. And if you don't have the luxury of reading the film schedule, the individual call sheets, if you can find out what they were doing on a day and who was called to set, and you can say, oh, actually that person, even though it was a scene between Jack and Wendy, it was actually, they must have done Wendy's coverage that day because Jack wasn't even on set, or it was a Wendy scene and Jack was called because that sort of thing.
They needed him or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Or look, they were rehearsing here, so that may be why it was. And you can figure these things out. So they're a wonderful, I think they really do stand on, they certainly work with if you have a prop, but I think they're an incredible sort of gateway in to get something from a favorite movie that isn't a big ticket, item. And you can augment them as well. They're a wonderful thing, I think, to buy either already autographed or to use to get autographs on. And I'm not necessarily from an autograph collecting standpoint, I'm not saying you have to get everything autographed in the world, but I think the notion of a call sheet, dare I say, again, we're talking Star Wars for a second, sending it in to like one of these, like whenever Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford does a signing, and yes, it's you're adding money to it, but I certainly don't want to be the guy, I hate when people get like props signed, but a signed call sheet, I kind of dig, I have to say. And so it's also a way of sort of like coming into the collection at a smaller number.
Just sign it right across the chest of the
just
call
right
sheet.
Across, just Captain Kirk, but not your actor, not your real name, your character name. Jesus Christ. By the way, that last, in that December auction, that hoverboard with all those signatures on it. I mean, it's lovely that all those people worked on the movie, but I just don't want those on my. I don't want them on my prop. Just not particularly interested.
Neither does the bidding public.
Yes, I
Apparently.
guess so. Yeah. But I mean, one of the things that I do like about it is you could buy one of these things. You could get it autographed later. You know, again, those are choices.
Yeah.
They frame up really. Oftentimes they're 2 pages. Some of the older ones are 1 pages. You could put them in like a lucite thing, so you could see both sides. You could just frame them on the wall unto themselves. I've done both, I guess, and I just think they're a really wonderful starter prop that we don't necessarily talk enough about, but I'm always on the lookout for them, and I'm always adding them to my collection. And I have too many of them. I have too many of the same. I have too many Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi ones.
Yes. Well, I would like one of each of those. So
Yeah.
if you can find ones that maybe are right for me, then or just ones that you don't care about, I will take them.
Great. Well, fantastic. But I just think they are wonderful. And especially when you get to movies, you know, again, not just tough movies to find, like older cool movies, but when I think about it, like a lot of the great comedies where I don't know, they're, you know, like, movies we've talked about, like some of the Bill Murray movies, like Meatballs. Like, I don't know what the hell I'd want from Meatballs, but if I could find a Meatballs call sheet, that would be really exciting just because. You know what I mean? Like,
I want a Tommy Boy call sheet.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Exactly. Again, there are a couple of maybe recognizable, like the tiny jacket and things like that you would recognize as obviously costume prop from that movie, but it would just be a great just example to have a Tommy Boy call sheet like on your wall, or, you know, however you want to display it. It's just really, really wonderful. And I think like a sister to that is maybe another Propas is kind of jumping into the world of storyboards. But I think there's different versions of that. And I think you will often find, especially in a more reasonably priced side, you'll find just like Xerox sets, because like, so, you know, there was an original storyboard. Yes. Yeah. There was an original storyboard that is hand drawn. Sometimes those are available and those are incredible, but those are, you're going to start to, you know, depending on what movie and, you know, who and what, those are going to start to rise up price wise. But the way they were distributed to the cast and crew, or maybe not the cast, but to the crew in the departments, was, you know, sequences were Xeroxes. So we are talking about Xeroxes, but we are talking about period Xeroxes from the film. Sometimes, if you're lucky enough, they have, you know, pen and ink marks, you know, of someone circling something or checking something or whatever. And those also, by the way, can often be signed, you know, by key crew members, especially if you're talking about ILM stuff with Star Wars and whatnot. Yeah. And I just think that's a really great Propas. I don't know. Do you have any of those in your collection?
I don't. I actually don't have any original storyboards. I have a couple of call sheets. I have an Aliens call sheet that the wonderful Harry Harris was kind enough to give me.
He also hooked me up with one too, which is really great.
And I have a Conan one somewhere, but I've been bad about it, because it's that thing where it's like, oh, I don't have it. It's such a hill to climb, but I really should just start grabbing them as I go. And I don't know, maybe if I can shake a couple of loose from your not condo purge, but the condo alignment, should we call it?
Marie Kondo?
Yeah.
With a C?
Yeah.
There's a terrible pun.
The Dave Kondo, the Kondo. But what are they? What's
by the way, if Marie Kondo walked into my condo, I think she would honestly just. I think it would be like the end of Avengers. She would just turn to dust. Like, it would be as if Thanos snapped. She would just
I think it would
cease
actually,
to exist. Yeah,
I see it more as the end of Raiders as possible. That's one, or just one of those scenes in The Thing, you know, where the body just opens up and just the blood tentacles come out and the eyes are. I think that.
Or possibly Marie Kondo walks in and is so turned on by because the Kondo and me are her greatest conquest ever.
Yes,
you never know. Yeah,
yeah, right,
possible.
right. Yeah. And then that's right. And then it becomes a show. There's a whole side shoot off show. This is all entirely possible. No, I was looking for the word. What is one of the awful sort of things that they call
deaccessioning, but now aren't they?
No, I was gonna say like redundancy, like when one of the new euphemisms for massive layoffs, like that's what you're doing in your condo. It's redundancy. Or I mean, corporate realignment.
You literally, if I went to the bathroom while you were at the condo and you had like a suitcase, you could go into a drawer, steal a couple, put them in your suitcase, and later leave, and I will never know that you stole them. Yeah.
I could take the giant size X-Men, and there's a chance that night you wouldn't notice for some days. Yeah, yeah.
That one I feel like I'd have a spidey tingle of some sort, but who knows? But yeah,
that's your dragon. You're bound to it, and you know where it is.
Somehow I kind of know where it is at all times. Yeah. But those sequences, and again, obviously not every movie, not everything has storyboards, but they are just really fun. Like even the Xerox ones. Yeah,
we still do them, and most of our artists, at least this season, most of our artists still work by hand.
Oh, that's very cool.
So I'm notorious for.
And that is, by the way, something I think, especially for an early collector,
by the way,
right, where you can rise up. In the sense, what I mean is perhaps early on buying like a Xerox of something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes a special effects storyboard will stand on its own because there's information on it. So it will be a Xerox, but there's information about the scene and whatever, and how it was, because they were using it that way. And sometimes there are just sequences of multiple storyboards, whatever. But you could start with a Xerox or an autographed Xerox and eventually find your way to an original piece of art used in a storyboard. So again, it's a way of kind of getting in on the base level of collecting and then kind of like finding your way
leveling
forward
up
a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes you can, if there's a sequence that you love, if there's a sequence like I know you love the asteroid sequence in Empire.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. You could go out and find that sequence completely storyboarded in Xeroxes. You're not going to find all of that original art together. Very unlikely. But you could find that sequence. And if you're a huge Empire fan and you're like, well, I don't know what I could ever afford from that movie, you could get in theory, if you did the work, you could get your favorite sequence from in period photostats from that time. And some of those you'll see from time to time. You're not getting the original, but you can find the visual effects director's copy, and he's annotated them. So he's taken the storyboards and written all over it. And that's like having, scripts. There's no original script. I mean, nobody has the original typewriter version of the script.
Well, someone might have the onion skin or the yellow pad, but yes, exactly.
Yes, you would see that famously John Milius kept one of the few things that he kept was he wrote all of his first drafts on legal pads. And he has all of his first drafts of like everything that he wrote, including Apocalypse Now, in handwriting done on a legal pad, which, I mean, that's cool. But I was saying the original script, it's very hard to like say which one is which one came out of the typewriter. But what makes those really interesting and cool is when they're marked up and they're annotated by the director or by the star or by the writer. And storyboards are very similar.
I've had storyboards. And again, we're talking about Xeroxes, so I'm not talking about originals. I'm just talking about copies of storyboards where it comes it's a single document and it's just got a big red X through it, which either means they finished it or they kicked it out. Like they realized they didn't need it. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, because an X could be, well, that's done. Moving on to the next one.
That's what we do. That's what we do on our show. You'll see. Right. So when we're doing a big sequence, you'll see the director puts up a corkboard on set, and when you're doing dragon buck work or whatever, each one of those things is a shot. So every day the rig is programmed, the camera movements are programmed just to get that one shot of the dragon starting to, the wings starting to flap. It's all it's very technical and can be quite tedious. But every time you get one of those from the previs or from the set of storyboards, you take the frame and you do that. But it doesn't mean that you cut the scene necessarily. Right. So, but if it's a shot that isn't in the movie, then potentially it's the evidence that shot existed and was shot and cut or cut before they shot it or whatever. They ran out of time too in some cases.
But anyway, it's just a really, really cool way of sort of, again, both in auction, but also both in just like, straight purchase, with a buy it now price. These are things that I think are out there, with some of like the, production storyboard Xeroxes, the sets of that kind of whatever. You do want to make sure you're getting from, again, do your research. You want to get from some place, that's has a sort of a reputation, a little bit of an authority, if you will, because Xeroxes obviously can be Xeroxes. And I think what the fun is to get an an older set of Xeroxes, not a new set of Xeroxes. You will see sometimes someone saying this is a copy of a Star Wars special effects, whatever. A little less interesting to me. I'm looking for the period stuff that connects to the movie more, but I'm not bothered by it being a Xerox. And again, in terms of like a entry price level, it truly defines, I think, what we're talking about with a Propas, or at least our new term Propas. Yeah. I think somewhere else on that list maybe is, crew gifts. Yeah, and I know we did a big discussion a couple of years ago with Gus about like Star Wars crew gifts, which I think have taken on sort of a different life.
That's a whole collecting world.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And there is definitely rarity there, and there is prices that go along with the rarity. But on a lot of other movies, or almost every other movie, the crew gifts are often very unique and often really, really fun. And look, sometimes on certain fabled productions, we've talked about a little bit. You talked about wanting one of the Blade Runner jackets, right, or one of the Alien. Did you ever get a Bug Stomper jacket too from Aliens?
Yeah, I have Aliens. Yeah, I started doing crew jackets from all of my favorite films because I just think they're fun, and they have the often the logo of the show on it, or something like the Bug Stompers logo is on the Aliens jacket. I have the Around the World jacket from Indiana Jones for the 30 or 40 crew who worked on all three of the trilogy.
Oh, right. Yep.
And that was actually gifted to me by the great Mike Dawson, who works on my show. So the great fun. And I've been looking for Blade Runner. There's some other things that I want. The thing that I really want is, and this does not fall into a small purchase anymore, sadly. I want one of those Norway jackets from Finsa.
Sure. Yes.
Those are awesome.
And that is the craziness of Star Wars, which is with the Norway stuff. There's like crew jackets. I think there's 2 variations of the crew ones, and then there was like one for the media, which I didn't even know about till a couple of years ago. So yeah, you can definitely make yourself crazy in that way. But for example, I have like a little, I don't even know if I've ever told you about this, so forgive me or not. I have a little metal Tucker car that they gave out on Tucker.
Neat.
Yeah. It's just a small little metal Tucker car, and I absolutely love it. These are things that have prices a little bit, but I think we've talked about this. John Wayne used to give out mugs on his movies, and so these were personalized mugs. Now, obviously, a Searchers one's going to cost you some money, but some of the lesser movies or the other movies aren't particularly expensive.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, exactly. Random T-shirts, bags, those kinds of items.
Crew shirts are great. There are like I don't know whether this quite is a crew gift, but very kindly I got to know Simon Atherton a little bit, who is the legendary armorer, built amongst many other things all of the armaments for Aliens. I got to meet him, have a dinner with him. And he very kindly sent me afterwards. He was cleaning out his, he retired, so he was cleaning out his workshop and office, and found his 2 premiere passes to Aliens, and stuck them in an envelope and sent them to me. And they're so cool because they're like buck slips, the big that size and glossy, and now you would just get a QR code on your phone, but they properly made these things.
I think that goes beyond. I first of all, fantastic. Second of all, fuck you. Third of all, screw you, Simon, for not sending it to me, who we've only met once on a show. But anyway, but more importantly, I think that's a whole other its own category of Propas. You're right. It is a crew thing, but I think invites, especially when you're talking about like, I'll say the late 70s, early 80s genre movies that we love.
Yeah.
Those movies had a lot. They often had British premieres. They had British sneak screenings. There were American premieres. There were American sneak screenings, especially with the Lucas stuff up in San Francisco and whatnot. And the invites for those, they would always do like the Prince's Trust in the UK. The Prince Charles would do a screening of like Star Wars or whatever. Those invites.
Giant movie buff.
Yeah, exactly.
Charles,
those invites, those are fantastic, and that's a collection. Right now, that's a collection unto itself, I think, and another really nice Propas. And again, also autographable if that was something you were interested in. But certainly, but certainly just the collectability of these really wonderful, as you said, they're kind of like on buck slips, so they're always usually like a thicker paper, like a glossy cardboard or something like that. And they did them for they were still sending those out well into the late 90s, early 2000s on movies, and they exist for a lot of movies, and it's a really fun, especially premieres, like I said, early screenings. I think that's really just kind of exciting, and it's a really neat way to, again, it's a paper good, so you're not going to spend a fortune. Maybe the Star Wars ones are a little bit more money, but it's it's a really interesting entry level, I think. Again, it's a little bit movie poster, but and it's not exactly a prop, but I don't know. It's a propus to me. I think it's a good propus. I like those a lot. I think they're really fun. I think that's a really, really good one. And I think there's something to possibly even be said for, and these are fewer and far between too, but I think there's something for, period photographs. And I think that can fall into multiple categories. You can obviously, there are official production photographs and whatnot. But again, in a perfect world, it'd be fun to get something if you knew it was a set from the time. So obviously, very famously, on the Star Wars movies, there were those little binders, those crew gift binders of the photos. There were like the two versions and whatnot of the Gary Kurtz photos that he put together. For people. And those are really cool. And those are of course expensive because they are Star Wars. But I have seen those. I've seen sets of those that were broken up where single pieces were available, but also just photos from the movie. But also, I think as the years have gone by, now obviously it's all very digital, but sometimes you'll bump into just like somebody's photos from the set or something like that, or just, or even like scouting photos, Polaroids from a costume book or something like that. Of people in costume. Yes, continuity photos with a Polaroid and whatnot. And again, I'm not necessarily saying you want to have, if you were buying a whole continuity book, that's going to be a price. But if a single photo were available unto itself, that can be a very reasonable, here's a character I love, here they are in their costume, whatever it is, and whatever. And I don't know, it's a really frameable, really cool thing. And I think that's a propus too. I think that's a really nice little collectible.
Especially once it gets outside of like publicity photos and the things that were made as part of press kits and things like that. Those photos are pretty standard in the world. But if you can get to something that was interesting, that was shot by the director, my friend of mine and director on the show, Lonnie Peristier, who is on House of the Dragon, is a giant, huge movie nerd, and not quite a collector, but like has that sort of collector brain. And he loves, particularly, he loves in his office, he always sets up all these photos of his like 12 favorite directors on their set doing what they're doing, the people that most influenced him. And he found this fantastic photo, and I forget the exact story behind it, but it's a photo of the Rear Window set. Okay. From the period. So the big $1 million, famously, they spent $1 million on this set.
They built the back. They built both apartments in the backyard.
Right. Because that was the whole movie. Is that whole set. And but it's a photo. It was a photo I've never seen before, and there's some story behind it. But he has a photo of that set, like a really nice wide angle. The whole thing is in frame, printed up nice and big, black and white, hanged in his office. And I was like, that's cool. I want one of those.
That's great. Neat. I really like that. That's very, very cool. Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff fits in, and I think the message, just to kind of tie it all together, bring it all home in a way, is that you don't the two of us lunatics have been doing this for a long time. And there is scope creep as you start collecting, where you're like, this is my Rubicon. I will never cross it. And then you keep crossing it, and you cross it on yourself in your own auction when you set limits for yourself and then exceed them. And look, David and I are very fortunate. We've had successful careers that allow us to pursue these things at the best of the best, the things that the best things from the films that we love the best, and that so many people love the best. But it doesn't mean that it's not a walled garden. It doesn't mean that nobody else can come in. There really are ways to express your love for these films, even the things that we talk about the most on this show: Aliens and Star Wars and Blade Runner and Conan, the things that seem insurmountable. Yes.
There are entry points and
that are still original to that
movie. Gorgeous and
Yes,
really gorgeous, and frame up really nicely.
Yeah, present well, right.
And even in a world of, we've talked a lot about replicas from time to time, even if you are like sort of still in that phase of like maybe you have some replicas and whatnot, but imagine a real call sheet hanging behind a clear replica of something that you couldn't get, but you've got the call sheet, the real call sheet. I don't know. I think that there's I don't know. There's something about that even that I like.
Yeah,
and I'm not a big replica guy. You know what I mean? Like
that's great.
the pairing, I think could be, I don't know, just takes it to a different level in a good way. Anyway, these were some of our propas. We'd love to hear from you guys about some of your propas. Is there a game to play? I don't even know. Is there, you want to play call
sheet?
What call sheet would you most want to have, Ryan? But I will say this. But please, we'd love to hear from you if this is an area you've been sort of poking around in. Love to hear some other categories of some of the propas of like sort of like the low end, sort of entry level prop pieces into the world of collecting for you. And by the way, some people jump in, head on in. If maybe you're if you just I don't know, just, have a lot of Bitcoin. Maybe your first prop is I don't know, like a pair of ruby slippers. I don't know, it's like I bought a call sheet and then I bought the ruby slippers. That could be. But again, I think for most people, they kind of like to dip their toe in, and these propases are great ways of dipping your toe in.
Good entry level.
Let us
entry
know,
level drug.
Let us know about your propos or your propos journey, or some things maybe we left off our propos list. We would love to tell the rest of the world about it. So there you go.
I love how
and
often
just,
you're
we just
saying
want to use
my
the word
bad
propos
pun.
as much as humanly possible. I did enjoy it. I really did. I'm
Thank
your
you.
biggest pun fan. So yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. All right. So call sheets, the game. What are you going for?
I want a Lawrence of Arabia call sheet.
Yep. That's I get that. I get
fucking
that.
love that movie. And it's a movie that I've always enjoyed. The first time I saw it in 70 millimeter at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York. I was super lucky when I was living there. Just like the perfect condition to see it in. I loved it then.
Such a great theater, may it rest in
great,
peace. Jesus,
great theater. Yeah, it's gone, right?
I believe it's something else now, unfortunately. Yeah.
And I watch it not quite once a year, but I would say like every 18 months to 2 years. And it's bizarre, but I just love it. I get it, and I love it more and more every time I go back in. And I just freaking love that movie. So yes, and there's nothing out there from it at all. I have half of a script. I have like the second half of the script somewhere, which is very cool. But I would love a call sheet. So there you go. What about you, Dave?
There are definitely like movies like that I could sit here and kind of, I would like, because I'd love a Lawrence of Arabia call sheet. There's no question of that. I would love a Citizen Kane call sheet. Like there are these the great grand movies of 1938 that I'd love a call sheet from every one of them. Is there such a thing as a Casablanca call sheet? No idea, but I'd love one. Yeah. But honestly, I'm going to reduce it straight up to I'd love a Jaws call sheet. That's where I'm going.
Okay. Oh, you don't have one.
Jaws call sheet.
Oh, interesting.
No, not sure I've ever even seen one, honestly, or at least I've never. If I've seen one, I was probably outbid on it, quite honestly. I have to
There were
check.
like 200 days. So there's lots
well, that
of call
would be the other thing would be interesting, especially if you got one that was like, like in the overrun days, like what did those call sheets look like? Is there funny notation about how over they you know what I mean? I'd love to see it in the as it got worse. That would, I think, be really fascinating to see. Are people indicating on the call sheet, because there's always a little bit of a sense of humor on those call sheets sometimes, or an indication sometimes of, especially on like a Friday, of like drinks afterwards or whatever. So you get a little sense of the life of the
$5
show.
Friday.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, it just be I don't know. I'd love to see one. I'd love to have one. So yeah, that would be really cool. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
good. This was fun.
This was very enjoyable. Propas.
Share at your table.
A little plate, little prop on a little plate.
Yeah. Get norovirus from your best friends.
Perfect. Thank you guys as always. Please follow us on social media at Props Podcast. I think we got to get on Blue Sky. I think we got to leave Twitter. I'm leaving Twitter.
Let's do it.
I've had it. Yeah, we got to get on Blue Sky. So soon to
let's
be on
get
Blue Sky. Yeah.
Let's get a at Propas podcast too. Let's get our smaller handle for smaller issues.
Yeah, let us know what kind of Propas merchandise you'd like a Propas hat, a Propas shirt, What would you be interested in Propas-wise? Yeah, we really need to know that. And do you want it to be like, is the logo, the word Propas on a little plate? Do you want the little plate in there, or just the word? Anyway, a lot of things to write us about.
Is it just a series of plates and we get it? I don't know.
You just know it's, or
tiny plate,
or
with a logo.
Is each letter on a tiny plate? So
on a
P
plate.
on a little plate, R on a little plate. There's so many possibilities to Propas.
Or you just do props, but on the plates, and then you get that it's Propas.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Props on a plate, or props, and then the AS is on the plate at the end. Just only that part's on the plate. Send us your Propas logos. Is someone out there?
No, yeah.
But also,
get at it, graphic designers.
Do all that and like us and review us and follow us on YouTube and like us there and I don't know, something. So yeah.
Write us at dreamsaremadeofpodcast@gmail.com and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.